we'll go ahead 9 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get started. We got another full, robust agenda again. And at this time, I'm going to have our Mr. Secretary, if you would, please call roll.
Representative Blanton. Representative Bojanowski.
Here.
Representative Bratcher.
Here.
Representative Dietz.
Here.
Representative Dossett. Representative Freeland.
Here.
Representative Fugit.
Here.
Representative Gooch. Representative Hart.
Here.
Representative Johnson.
Here.
Representative Cook.
Here.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative Maddox. Representative Massaroni.
Here.
Representative Proctor.
Here.
Representative Raymer.
Here.
Representative Stalker.
Here.
Representative Stevenson. Here. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Wesley.
Here.
Representative Sharp.
Present.
Chair Thomas.
Present. All right, I believe we do have a quorum. I heard a lot of heres or presents here. So at this time, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer. So please remain standing. Master Sergeant Orr, would you like to take that center chair there? And why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, if you don't mind? Please remain standing. Brother Chris is going to lead us in prayer.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day that you give us. Thank you for the blessings, Lord, to be able to be here to serve you and to serve our people. And Lord, I thank you for our veterans that are serving us and that have served us in the past. Thank you for those first responders, police officers that are out there today, Lord, protecting us here. And I pray, Lord, you'd help us as a committee to make decisions that would help the people of Kentucky. Help us, Lord, to honor you with our lives. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
All righty. Well, we got going to move right on. This is our second meeting of Veterans Military Affairs, Public Protection. So glad to have such a full house, and that just shows the state of Kentucky how important our veterans and military and our first responders are. So we appreciate y'all being here. We're going to move into our distinguished guests and turn it over to our very enthusiastic state representative. Ms. Stevenson, go ahead and introduce your guests there.
Thank you so much. It is a great honor and privilege for me to be here with Master Sergeant Joanne Orr. I want to tell you about the person and what it takes to be a veteran to defend the promise of America. See, she has her master's, she has her bachelor's, she has a lot of accolades. She is Veteran of the Year, she is Mother of the Year. She's done a lot of things. But what her bio doesn't tell us is about her heart, her capacity to love, her capacity to keep doing the work even after she retired from the Army. Now, she's got a lot of things on her heart, so I'm going to give the floor to her, so that she can tell you what she does and also how we can help the state of Kentucky serve its veterans.
I'm on. Mm-hmm. I want to make sure I wasn't doing any hot mics or any of that. I see it on TV all the time. I don't want to do that. Okay, good morning. My name is Joanne Orr. I am 25 years retired, United States Army, Quartermaster Corps, Master Sergeant. Where do you start? I've always interested in being in the military. My mother was in the military from 1940 to 1946, and it was her way out of Mississippi. She never said it, but I sincerely believe that had a lot to do with it. And for me, married to a Vietnam vet who went back to Vietnam 3 times after being wounded. And though his body came back from Vietnam, his mind never did. He passed in 2015 still, calling in incoming and all the things you do when somebody throws off a firecracker and you're not really sure where you are. And since there was no PTSD treatment back in the day, you did what you had to do and you just kept it moving. I joined the reserves in 1975 as my way into the military because at that time, ladies, you had to have your husband's signature to get in the military. Okay. He did not want to sign for me to go into active duty, so he signed for me to go into reserves. I stayed in reserves 4 years before I finally went active duty, and going active duty because I had a son with sickle cell disease. I lived in the state of Kentucky who did not treat sickle cell disease. My son was coming up on a lifespan of 11. He was 10. So it was time for me to get my hat, dust it off, and go in another direction. In the words of my mother, leave my grandson over here, go do what you got to do. He'll be here when you get back. So that's what I did. 3 duty stations in the United States in 25 years. Didn't take long to figure out that my name was going to be anonymous with combat support. Basic training, 8 weeks, snowplow, 5 o'clock in the morning, Fort Dix, New Jersey. Reality check for a 29-year-old. I went to basic training in 75 as a reserve, but then we only did 2 weeks, ladies. By 79, we did 8. I didn't know that. I might have changed my mind. But 8 weeks, I survived it. Went on to Fort Dix for my training. I'm a quartermaster NCO. I run storage warehouses and data processing systems for the military. Very large computers then. Now we have this. Back then, we had this room because that's about what it took to house a computer. Combat support, everything's built into a 5-ton trailer. So everywhere we went, first duty station, 197th Infantry Brigade, Fort Benning, Georgia. When I saw it on my orders, not knowing what an infantry brigade was, I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm 6 hours from Louisville. I can travel home, and yeah, everything's great. I found out I'm gonna live in the woods. Yeah, 3 weeks out of every month training, but you know, it's what you do, and I enjoyed what I did. For 25 years, I enjoyed what I did. 2 tours of Benning, 2 tours of Fort Hood, 2nd Armored Division, 5 tours of Korea, 2 spent in 2nd Infantry Division, walking the line with a dog on the DMZ at 2 in the morning with all the little North Koreans trying to get you to talk them into teaching them English. So that didn't work either. I didn't speak enough Korean to even know what he was talking about. So we just played that off and went on. Not last tour, but in the middle, Fort Stewart, Georgia. My son passed in October of 1989. I arrived at Fort Stewart, Georgia in July of 90. Lucky me, the balloon went up August the 2nd, 1990, and I got to be the first person to go to Saudi Arabia. Got me out of bed at 2 in the morning, issued me all my gear, which was easy. I was still in the barracks. I hadn't even had a chance to find a place to stay. I still didn't have a car. I still hadn't been home. I'd been gone 2 years. I was still trying to deal with the death of my child. But the Lord does what he does in all the right time, and that was the right time for me not to be able to sit. So they put me on a plane the next day with 46 other soldiers. A week later, we got a contingency force of almost 1,000, and we started setting up for the Gulf War. We had to set up for 90,000 soldiers to hit the ground in 3 weeks' time. So I survived it. I'm here. I'm talking about it. That's a good thing. But it was an experience. It was an experience to be out in the desert. It was an experience to try and wash all the sand out of your underwear when you're hitting a sandstorm every day at 4 o'clock. It was an experience. We storage warehouses. We carried 10 5-ton trailers every day, a oil tanker, a water truck, and Lord knows how many miscellaneous reserve units that came in to put up porta potties, which was an experience in the sand because they kept sinking. Yeah, tried using one of them. But just little bitty things like having to get shots, not really knowing what they're giving you. If you had a lot of spare time, which we didn't have a lot of, but you cleaned out ammo dumps, and sometimes we were detailed to go help put out the oil fires. So whatever you had to do to get you from point A to point B on a daily basis, that's what the job called for, and that's what we did. And you learn family, which you in the military we're all family. That's just something you never leave. You build that family from the day you meet a person to the day you serve with a person to the day the first one of you go, and they'll be waiting for you when you get there, when your day comes. So we live on that promise. Desert Storm was nothing like Vietnam, but a little bit of maybe what my husband had been through. It was easier for me to understand. And my reality for it was my first tour back. I come back to Stewart, but going into Korea the year after, we were at a mall or something, and somebody was throwing firecrackers. You knew everybody in this place that had been to the Gulf because everybody took cover. People would look at us like we lost our minds because we're all crawling all over the ground before we realized where we were. But the job. Left my last tour of Korea, came back to Task Force 21 at Fort Hood, Texas, which is where I retired from. Took up the job of M1, A1, A2 tanks and putting in computer systems and getting the pleasure of driving a tank at 65 miles an hour across the California desert and hit a target. Now that's power. Okay, that's real power. That made it all worth it right there. But 20 years, 25 years later, 24 years, 8 months, and 4 days later, I retired. I couldn't make another 5-mile run, and God forbid, them 18-year-olds were moving way too fast for me. I was hitting 50, so it was just time to go home. But coming out, you take off the uniform and you pick up the battle from where you left. With my son having passed, my biggest concern for Kentucky was the fact that there was still no treatment for sickle cell. So that was my first job. And in 2017, thank you, Senator Neal, who I don't see, we finally got our first clinic open for adults. Now, our children were covered up until the age of 19, but at 19, you had to travel from anywhere in the state of Kentucky to Vanderbilt University for care, and that was just wrong. That's a long way to go for an emergency. Emergency rooms would treat you as long as they could, kind of shuffle you to the side. They were so scared of over-medicating you that they were under-medicating you. And there was really just nothing else you could do. You just kind of live with it. But that was done. So plan B, just do what you could do to keep up. And then I found out that we women who serve in the state of Kentucky, and this was just a few years ago, that I realized that we don't have anything here in the state of Kentucky for women veterans. This is a no-no. We do have one transition house. You know, she's sitting behind me, Ms. Abbott. Got open in 2020. But I work now with sickle cell, of course, always my heart. But I'm really working hard to get my women veterans off the street. Right now in Louisville, I have 12 of them off the street. Hotel Louisville has 4, and the Salvation Army's holding on to the other 8. They actually have a wing of the Salvation Army now that says women's veterans, homeless. And that word just hurts my feelings every time I walk in the door, but they're there. They're off the street. They have a section for women, just families in general they find living in their cars and stuff, but women veterans in particular. And it's just time for us. That's my goal for my women. I have to speak up in that regards. We have to do something for the women who have served this country. And it's 27,000 of us in the state of Kentucky. That's amazing. It's 27,000 women walking and talking right now in the state of Kentucky will serve this country. They can't be sick, they can't be homeless.
And that's a good place to pause because there are 27,000 of us that were willing to give our lives. And if there's any one last thing you want to say to the people that can help you do that, what would that be?
Help. Help. As Woman Veteran of the Year, it's my place to do this, and I would do it if it weren't. I was fortunate. I kind of took care of me, and I didn't really look back. But it's past time for me to stick that hand back and pull somebody forward, and I need you to do the same thing. We're in desperate need out here, really. I mean, most of our women veterans won't even admit to being veterans. They've been mistreated or just disregarded. The Cure Journal wrote an article on us last year that said we're the invisible branch of the military in Kentucky. We're the fastest growing homeless population. No, we need to fix that, and that's what I ask of you. So spend my time, did what you asked me to do. Now I come begging. Time to pay back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Well, we appreciate everything you've done and such a long career, and sorry for your loss of your son there. That's definitely tough there. Let's see, does anyone have any questions, comments, or anything for Master Sergeant? No? Why don't, if y'all would, come around to the front, and I believe Representative Stevenson has something to present you. It looks like you got plenty of decorations there, and but here's one more that we can at least present to you on behalf of our Veterans Military Affairs there. And do we have camera or anyone? Oh, there we go. Someone's going to take a picture.
On behalf of the chairman and a grateful nation and a grateful Kentucky General Assembly, we thank you for all you've done, for all you continue to do, and for standing in the gap and making sure that those people who said, I'm willing to give my life for the promise of America, are served in the state of Kentucky.
Take my cheat sheet, get out.
All right. Hard to follow after that act there, but Representative Chris Fugit is going to come down, and he has a bunch of guests to introduce also. We're going to be here in House Bill 244. Members, that should be in your packet there. Please introduce your guests. Make sure those green lights are on those microphones. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Fugit with the 84th District, representing Perry, Breathitt, and Owsley County.
Good morning, sir. And you're exactly right. It's hard act to follow, but I'm going to try. So let me do some introductions here. I'm Brigadier General Retired Charles Jones. I'm Executive Director of the Department of Military Affairs for Kentucky. I've got some gentlemen I want to introduce to Representative Fugit's right is Sergeant Alexander Shotas, and I'll let him do his introduction, tell you the basics, where he's from.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Sergeant Alexander Schultheis. I'm from Springfield, Illinois. I currently reside in Whitley County, and I work for the Appalachian Challenge Academy.
So I've got Cadet Parker Murray. Cadet Murray is currently a cadet at Bluegrass Challenge Academy at Fort Knox. Cadet Murray is from Boston, Kentucky. He's 16-year-old out of Nelson County High School in the 11th grade. Cadet Matthew Schultz. Cadet Schultz is from Fort Knox, Kentucky. He's currently a class member of Bluegrass Challenge Academy. He's out of Meade County High School in the 11th grade. To my immediate left here, I've got Mr. Samuel Rivera. Samuel is a graduate of Bluegrass Challenge Academy, and also is currently joined the United States Army Reserve to ship after his graduation here this spring. He's currently a student at Seneca High School. Did I get that right? Shawnee High School. I'm sorry. And part of the Naval Reserve Naval ROTC program. To the far left, I've got Corey Ann Jackson. Corey Ann is the POLAG for Major General Harold Lamberton. These gentlemen that are with us up here in uniform are either former cadets, current cadets, or graduated. What Schulteis didn't tell you, he graduated Class 4 at Appalachian Challenge Academy up at Harlan, Kentucky. He joined the United States Army, the Kentucky National Guard. Just recently returned off a deployment with the Mountain Warriors out of Harlan, and is back and serving as a cadre at the academy now. So graduate, joined the United States Army, deployed, came back, and now works for us as a cadre, a staff member up there.
Thank you, General Jones, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and members of the committee. In 2017, I was elected as a state representative, and my county then was Perry and Harlan counties. And I was introduced to the Youth Challenge program and Mr. Josh Coldiron in the Appalachian Challenge Academy in Harlan. And when I went there and I visited the school and the Challenge Academy, the program, I was impressed because of the things that it was teaching the young people, both men and ladies that would come there. Their program, I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is for kids between 15 and a half years old to 18 years old or 19 years old that would attend the Challenge Academy. The Challenge Academy teaches them, of course, self-respect. It teaches them discipline, and it's a military-type academy where they attend classes, they do credit recovery, and it just teaches them a lot about life that maybe they didn't have the opportunity to learn prior to going to the academy. House Bill 244 is a bill that would recognize the Appalachian Challenge Academy and the Bluegrass Challenge Academy as a school district. Right now, they take the young people from other schools, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, and the school districts, while the student may transfer to one of the academies, the school districts still have their scores and different things that stay with the home school. This would allow the school districts and the young people to transfer from their home district to the Challenge Academy, their scores and all that would follow them. The Challenge Academies would contract with a local school district for curriculum for the year, and the program is a 5.5 month program, and then after successfully completing the academies, they can return back to their home district to finish their senior year or the years that they need to complete their high school. There is no SEEK money that's involved in this. The programs are funded by federal DOD and the Kentucky's Veterans Military Affairs Department, and then $750,000 from general funds. That really is the bill in a nutshell. General Jones, if you want to add something to what I've said.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. To make sure everybody's on the same page here, this program stood up in Kentucky in 1999, and then we added one in Harlan in 2012. It was GED focused. As everyone knows, 2016 Commonwealth Kentucky adopted Graduate Kentucky, the mandatory attendance. At that time, we had already started transitioning to credit recovery. So these young men and women that are attending the academy are focused on an individual lesson plan to get them back on track, to put them back in their parent classroom. So what this does for us is it adds that legitimacy to both academies, that we know without exception those kids attending are getting the same educational standards that they would in any public school system throughout the Commonwealth. So they transfer from their parent school, come to us for 5.5 months. We get them back on track educationally on what they need per their parent counselor, and then teach them the skills to return to that classroom and overcome those challenges that got them off track, whether that's environment or whatever the issue is. We did this in collaboration with Kentucky Department of Education and Dr. Buddy Berry and the folks up at Eminence Independent School District. We're not educators, but we can take and teach you to be responsible young adults, and we do that through a quasi-military form. But our goal is to get them educationally back up with their peers, put them back in their classroom as a productive student in that school system.
Motion on the bill.
Second.
All right. I heard a motion by Representative Lewis. Did I hear the second over here? By Mark Hart there. So, all righty. We do have some questions. DJ, or Representative Johnson, I'll let you go ahead and start.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've got one question. First off, I want to say love it. Love what you're doing. And Representative Fugit, just to clarify, you mentioned $750,000 from the general fund. Is that to be allocated in addition, or has that already been appropriated?
That's already allocated and passed.
Perfect answer.
Yep.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Representative Bojanowski.
So I think it sounds like an amazing program, and anything that will help kids be on the right track to be productive members of society is phenomenal. I do have a concern. I'm not really understanding why it would need to become a district with 171 districts. I'm hesitant to add a district. And then just my second bit of a question is, how many cadets do you have per year?
So the capacity is 300 per academy, 600 per year is the capacity. So the reason it needs to be, and I would ask my educators room, like I said, I'm not an educator, so I go out and get experts to address that, but I could paraphrase why it needs to be a district. All the negative indicators on the school district scorecard that these kids bring with them, the graduation rate and the SAT scores and all those scorecard issues belong to their parent school. This way, they belong to us. And we have no scorecard. KDE does not fund us with SEEK money, nor are we asking for it. So the negative indicators that Dr. Berry or whatever school district that would accept this contract, that belongs to us and doesn't impact their school district. We're not going to create a school district. I'm going to go out and solicit a contract for a school district to provide educational services in accordance with Kentucky Department of Education at both academies. I hope that answered your question. I've got experts back here if you need it.
That was a good answer.
Sir.
Representative Bratcher.
General, I think it's a great program. I've actually referred some of the guys in our unit. They act as cadre in the National Guard unit, and I actually have referred 2 people to your program, and they've turned out very, very. They were struggling, and they came out very, very well, and really changed their life. So I think you are doing great work there, and not only do they get high school diploma stuff and get right on the right track, but they're eligible for scholarships as well.
Yes, sir.
So and they're eligible to get some money. So I think it's an awesome program, and I think we'd expand it even more than what it is, because there's a lot of people out there that could use it. So I applaud what you're doing, and I support this bill.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Representative Stevenson.
My question was answered.
Yours was. All right. Does any other members have any comments or questions? Yes.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. A couple of questions. What does the curriculum look like as far as student to teacher ratio? And are we talking about in-person classroom setting, or is there any percentage of their day that is being spent doing online
So I'm
recovery?
going to ask that Mr. Jody League, and I hadn't introduced Jody. Jody is the principal. He's for the principal for the satellite school that Eminence Independent School District operates at Bluegrass Challenge. Jody, if you would, please, sir.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Would you care? We have some people online that we're going to have see if you can get to a microphone there. And please introduce yourself again for the record.
Yes. Jody League, principal of Eminence Independent Schools. We do all the academic services for Bluegrass Challenge Academy. We have actually 5 teachers that are on site. We do use a learning platform called Edgenuity, which most public schools are using now for their alternative schools. Makes for an easy transition. When I request Infinite Campus, they release it, and I release it right back to them. So they kind of pick up where they leave off on that side. But yes, an example this year, even though they come in with an individual learning plan, we update that. And then we also have a math teacher there at Bluegrass Challenge Academy that walks them through the math curriculum on there. Everything else, English, everything, all the core curriculum, they do on their own with that teacher there to keep them unstuck. But it's a classroom-led facility on that Eminence's satellite campus there.
Please go ahead.
You just touched on something that I was curious about. You mentioned they come in with an individual learning plan. And my question is, what sort of either evaluations or resources do you have to support students who might come to you who either already have an IEP, an individual educational plan, or a 504 plan?
Yes.
Thank
Good
you.
question. We're a full-service public school, so we do have a resource room available. We probably average around 30 IEPs that come into us, which is about 30% of our population per semester on there. We do serve the 504 and IEP to the T. ARC meetings, everything we do there on site on that. So, you're welcome.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions, comments, or anything? Sounds like a wonderful program. Chris, we have a motion and a second. I'm assuming you're not going to say anything else. So, members, if we're ready, we're going to go ahead and, Madam or Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton.
Aye.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes, and thank you all for your work on this.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Dossett.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative Maddox.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Sharp.
Aye.
Representative Stalker.
Yes.
Representative Stevenson.
Aye.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Yes.
Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Aye. Passed unanimous. This is one time I'm glad we don't have consent because we look forward to hearing that on the floor there. So
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee.
thank y'all for being here.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we're going to go just right down the list there. And Representative Lewis, if you want to take your seat, and if you have any guests there, you know the routine. Just make sure they introduce themselves, yourself also. We do have some people out in cyber world there. And this is HB 29. This is something we heard last year, passed unanimous, but Senate didn't quite get to it. I believe, do we have Commissioner Allen? Is he on virtual? He should be. Okay.
Well, thank you all for having us today. Derek Lewis, State Representative of the 90th District, proudly representing Leslie, Clay, and Laurel County.
I'm the new or incoming Deputy Commissioner for KDVA as of this past January. Juan Renault, please.
Silas Session. I am the Executive Director for Veteran Services for the KDVA.
This is Commissioner Whitney Allen from the nation capital. Good morning, Chairman and committee members. And I also have my my Director of Cemeteries, Al Duncan. Al?
Good morning, all.
He's here in the Capitol with me. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
We've always heard federal trumps us state here, so we're glad you're up there, but we're glad you're here with us too. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman. Thank you all for all the members for being here today and allowing us to present this bill. So House Bill 29 is a good bill. It's unique in that it doesn't add one word to our statute. It actually strikes one, all right? So we don't do that very often. So in Kentucky, we have 5 veteran cemeteries, and to be interred into one of those cemeteries, you must be a Kentucky resident. And in my mind, you know, if you have served your country and wherever you want to...
Motion on the bill.
Second.
I won't fight it.
I believe a few of them have heard this last year there. Now, with such a short presentation there, do we have any questions or comments, or everyone? Representative Hart.
Go ahead and tell me what the bill does. I don't want to deprive you of that opportunity.
Sure, Representative. I appreciate that. So by striking the word Kentucky from Kentucky resident, it's going to make the department, it's going to make these cemeteries eligible for federal dollars that we otherwise would not be. And so when the department looked over this, it was estimated within 10 years we could miss out between $10 to $20 million of funding. And so just allows us to be eligible to apply for those funds.
Thank you. I wanted the committee to hear the dollar amount because it is substantial.
It is.
And this is vital for our cemeteries to have this money for mowing, for future expansions, different things like that. And if you don't mind, let me, just for the public's, Al Duncan, do you mind just commenting just briefly kind of why it's so important and some of the expansions that we're looking at doing and things like that?
Sure, sir. Thank you all for allowing us to speak on this. Real quickly, 2002, we entered into a memorandum of understanding with the National Cemetery Administration. We built 5 cemeteries with this program. And during those 5 cemeteries, the National Cemetery Administration and the State Cemetery Grants Program gave the state of Kentucky $40.7 million to build those 5 state veteran cemeteries. That was federal funds, not a dime to the state of Kentucky. So in return, we took them, and what we want to do is be able to continue those expansions. I have an expansion in Representative Thomas's neck of the woods at Kentucky Veteran Cemetery West this year for $2.5 million. If we do not pass this year, the federal government has stated that effective 1 January of 2025, any state that has a residency requirement will not be eligible for any future expansion grants. So with that being said, over the next 10 years, we will lose out on $20 million.
All right.
That's
Well,
vital to kill this bill.
yeah, well said there. I just wanted them to kind of get the gist of how important this is there. So, all right. Do we have any other comments from any members or not? Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton.
Aye.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Dossett.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit.
Yes.
Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative Maddox.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Sharp.
Aye.
Representative Stalker.
Yes.
Representative Stevenson. Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Yes.
Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Aye. Another unanimous one, but we'll hear it on the floor anyway. Gentlemen, thank y'all for being here. We appreciate some of y'all being here from D.C. too, so we appreciate it, and we'll look forward to hearing this on the floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we're going to move into our third item and last. We did have one more agenda item, but we're going to keep working on it. It's going to be presented next week. So this one is HB 226, and Jared. Oh, did we lose him? Is he out? He was here. Oh, there he is. Come on up. You're on the hot seat. Now, I heard this was not your first committee that you've had to present to. This is like your third or so, isn't it? Or so, second? You're a seasoned veteran here. Well, we're glad to have you. If you would, just make sure each one of your guests introduces themselves for the record, and make sure those green lights are on the micro.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Representative Jared Ballman, State House District 28. That is the Jefferson County area of Kentucky.
I'm Brigadier General Retired Charles Jones. I'm Executive Director at Department of Military Affairs, Kentucky.
Corey Ann Jackson, poll ad for General Laborton, Legislative Liaison.
Patty Clark, Director of the Division of Mental Health for the Department for Behavioral Health, Developmental, and Intellectual Disabilities.
And I'm Sarah Cooper, the Legislative Director for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services. Thanks for having us today.
All righty. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the committee for the opportunity to present House Bill 226 before you today. This bill is going to abolish a non-functioning board, the Kentucky Community Crisis Response Board, and it is basically going to codify in state statute the actual practice in the field of the Department of Behavioral Health administering behavioral health, mental health related services associated with crisis response, which is currently in the statute under the Department of Military Affairs. They have worked with the Cabinet for Family, Health, and Human Services to draft this bill and again codify in state statute the actual practice in the field. So I'll open it up for comments.
Motion on the bill.
I think I heard a motion by Representative Blanton, and I'm going to take yours, Mark, as a second there. So we do have a motion and a second, but I believe I saw Representative Bojanowski had a question. And
yes, thank you. So as I read through this, I was wondering, is this aligned with, related to, or separate from the work we did on the 988 numbers? So is it like a personal crisis, or are we talking about like a flood type of a crisis?
So it could range from any spectrum of that. So what they do is provide immediate response to those first responders that have a need. So the flood, they were very active. We mobilized them. They worked out of our shop, being Kentucky Department of Emergency Management, and deployed their assets forward in response to those requests. The goodness of putting it over there where it should be with the mental health providers is they also responded to the police officer that was killed in London, Kentucky here about 3 months ago, and they would never have been activated to respond to that had it stayed over in our shop. So it got us out of the middle of it in support of them who does the work downrange and provides more services for those first responders from an individual basis to a emergency like we have with the floods or tornadoes. Thank you, ma'am.
all right. Are there any other comments or questions from any of our members? Representative Stalker.
Yeah, question. How will this affect moving it from one department over to the Cabinet for Health and Family Services? How will this affect that cabinet when it comes to anything from an administration function? Do they have the capacity? Because we know that cabinet is already struggling. And so while it does maybe make sense that it should be housed there, I also worry about if we are putting an additional amount of workload that they will not be able to support and what the repercussions could be from that.
From our perspective, from Kentucky Emergency Management, they already had that inherent to their organization over there. So it was a matter we would get the declared emergency. We coordinated with them to deploy them anyway. So this way they get the emergency and then they come in support of us. So it streamlines it, is absolutely what it does. The resource, and I'll let them talk the money and how they're going to staff that, but it was already inherent to their operation.
Yes, absolutely. And we have actually, in partnership with KYEM, been responding to these emergencies since August. And so since that time, as General Jones replied, we were in London within hours of that accident for that when that officer died. And this is this is right in line with the work we do, and really we have staffed up at this point to make sure that we have someone who is coordinating that. We have adjusted our employee position descriptions so that they can be deployed when there is a need for them, either in a disaster situation or more of a one-on-one crisis response, such as that collision with that officer. We have hired, we've been working in the disaster space since the tornadoes and the flooding, and really have been working around increasing our capacity to understand and deploy in regard to a disaster or a crisis at this point. So we have one additional new staff, but that is, for the most part, everybody else is taking this on as part of their duties.
All right. Well, we appreciate y'all bringing this to us. I believe this passed the House a couple of years ago and got stuck in the Senate, so gave us a couple more years to fine-tune it and make it even better there. So, all right, any other members have any questions or comments or anything? If not, Mr. Secretary, please call roll.
Representative Blanton.
Aye.
Representative Bojanowski.
Yes.
Representative Bratcher.
Yes.
Representative Dietz.
Yes.
Representative Dossett.
Yes.
Representative Freeland.
Yes.
Representative Fugit. Representative Gooch.
Yes.
Representative Hart.
Yes.
Representative Johnson.
Yes.
Representative Cook.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative Maddox.
Yes.
Representative Massaroni.
Yes.
Representative Proctor.
Yes.
Representative Raymer.
Yes.
Representative Sharp.
Aye.
Representative Stalker.
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Yes.
Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Chair Thomas.
Aye. Another unanimous bill. Awesome. We'll look forward to hearing it on the floor, though, again. So thank y'all for being here. Members, is there any any comments, y'all, for the better of the committee? If not, we will be having a meeting next Tuesday at 9 o'clock also. That's a good sandwich between education at 8 and A&R at 10. So we'll try to get you out before 10. If